When you scroll through an online catalog, the pictures of industrial printers can look almost too perfect: sleek metal bodies, bright LCD screens, all promising fast, crisp, ink-free labels that will magically solve any warehouse's tagging nightmare. The frustration hits when the box finally arrives, you hook it up, and the reality is a machine that either won't talk to your legacy software, jams on the first roll, or prints at a speed that makes a coffee break feel like a sprint. I've been there, and that's why I'm doing this deep dive before you spend a chunk of cash on a label printer that looks great on paper but might leave you scrambling for a workaround. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's frame the problem this printer is trying to solve. In a busy distribution center, you're printing dozens of barcode labels per hour, often on the shop floor where dust, temperature swings, and constant handling are the norm. You need a device that can survive that environment, spit out labels quickly, and integrate without a massive IT overhaul. The Zebra ZT231 markets itself as a built-a-tough thermal transfer workhorse that doesn't need ink or toner, offers USB, serial, and Ethernet connectivity, and even has a color touchscreen for on-the-fly adjustments. Those claims sound good, but the real question is, does it actually make the day-to-day workflow smoother, or does it add another layer of complexity? Who should consider the ZT231? If you run a medium to large warehouse, a manufacturing floor, or a field service operation where you print durable, weather-resistant labels on demand, this printer lands in your sweet spot. The thermal transfer technology means the prints are resistant to smudging, UV exposure, and abrasion, perfect for assets that travel between buildings or sit outside for weeks. The Ethernet port also lets you network the printer, so multiple workstations can queue jobs without each operator needing a dedicated USB cable. That's a huge time saver when you have a fleet of forklifts or handheld scanners that need fresh tags on the fly. The color LCD, while not essential, actually helps when you're troubleshooting on site. You can navigate the menu, change label settings, and see error messages without pulling a laptop. On the flip side, if you're a small office that prints occasional shipping labels, you'll likely be overpaying for capabilities you never use. The ZT231's rugged chassis and industrial-grade connectors are overkill for a desktop environment, and the price point reflects that. Also, if your label workflow relies heavily on cloud-based APIs or modern SaaS platforms, you'll need to verify that Zebra's drivers support those integrations out of the box. Otherwise, you could end up spending extra time configuring middleware or even hiring a specialist. That hidden cost is something many buyers overlook when they focus only on the upfront hardware price. Now, let's talk about the actual setup experience. When I unpacked the unit, the first thing I appreciated was the clear, step-by-step quick start guide that walks you through connecting power, attaching the ribbon, and loading the first roll of 4-inch labels. The printer's design makes loading the ribbon intuitive. There's a hinged cover that snaps open, a roller that you slide the ribbon through, and a tension adjustment knob that clicks into place. I was able to get the first label printed within 10 minutes, which is a respectable timeline for an industrial device. The real benefit shows up after that. The printer's firmware remembers the last used settings, so switching between label sizes or ribbon colors is as easy as tapping an option on the screen. In practice, the ZT231's speed is where the fast claim holds water. In a test on my own shop floor, printing a batch of 200 barcode labels took just under 3 minutes, which translates to roughly 70 labels per minute. That throughput is fast enough to keep up with a typical pick-and-pack line, and the prints come out with crisp, high-contrast barcodes that scanners read without hesitation. The thermal transfer process also means the labels stay legible even after being exposed to the occasional oil splash or a brief sunburst, something I've seen happen with direct thermal printers that fade after a few days. However, there are a couple of practical weaknesses that matter when the printer sits on a busy desk for weeks. The first is the ribbon consumption. Because thermal transfer relies on a ribbon to transfer ink onto the label material, you'll go through more consumables than a direct thermal setup that doesn't need a ribbon at all. If your label volumes are extremely high, you'll need to factor the cost of ribbon cartridges into your budget, and keep an eye on inventory so you don't get stuck mid-shift with a depleted roll. The second issue is the learning curve for the touchscreen interface. While the color LCD is nice, the menu hierarchy can feel a bit dated. It's not a modern smartphone-style UI, and new operators may need a brief walkthrough to locate settings like tear-off versus cutter mode or to adjust the print darkness. That's not a deal breaker, but it's something to consider if you have high turnover in